I'm Dog Breath, and today I am going to ramble properly. Now, this video is about the Maxx Crosby trade breaking down with the Ravens, but it's coming at it from an interconnected type of way. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I have one rule to rule them all. And my rule is, I am the universe, and the universe loves me, no matter what. And if you've watched any other of my videos, you know that recently the universe has dealt me something to deal with, the family drama. Anyway, I'm about to explain it in this, but this is how interconnected everything is. I love that this is, sports helps us have an outlet to keep us distracted from some of the real stuff that we're dealing with in our life. But if you're really paying attention, you can even see how those things can intertwine. Because this whole thing with Maxx Crosby is crazy, right? Because I know they get paid millions of dollars. I know they're players and, they shouldn't complain about anything, but they are people too. And I watched Max's recount of events on his podcast. The fact that the GM and the head coach, neither one of those guys, met him at the front of the building when he came in speaks volumes. On top of the fact that they made him drive for 2 hours. Doesn't that feel like that was an extra, let's just stretch this out as long as we can? All right, so Ravens crap aside, I am a huge Maxx Crosby fan for just a ton of reasons. When I'm, obviously Maxx is one of the 3 left Oakland Raiders, and as a Bay Area Oakland Raider, born and bred, that is, it's significant to those of us who are, still here in the Bay Area. He's that link. He played in the black hole in the Coliseum, the nitty gritty black hole Coliseum, where real Raiders, what are this? Neon lights. Not that I'm complaining about the new stadium, but come on, people, we have to admit the home field advantage has been a little sad recently. But a lot of that has to do with them not winning. So I'm getting sidetracked. I got to get back on this story. So this is all about the day. This is what happened to me the day that trade got rescinded. So I'd like to say that it's all tied together, right? We're all breathing the same air molecules. They keep getting recycled. Every single breath you take contains air molecules that I once sucked through my lungs and blew back out. Just like every breath I take contains molecules that you did the same with. So, if you've been paying attention to any of my videos, and even if you haven't, recently we were given a diagnosis. My brother, they found a brain tumor on a scan, and the Tuesday that Maxx went to Baltimore is the same day that me and my family were given the news by the oncologists that there is a ticking time clock. It was a bad day. It's a heavy blow. Cancer is a bitch, and this particular cancer is one of the worst. So, everybody is as hopeful as we can, but the doctor basically said there is no cure. So, anyway, so when we got that news, we kind of joked, you have to make it until the Raiders win another Super Bowl. And if you've looked at the Raiders' recent history, that would suggest that he's going to live for a long time. But that's not the diagnosis we got. So there's a ticking clock, and the Raiders need to win soon if we're going to pull this off. So when I left the oncologist's office that day, I remember thinking to myself, no matter how good the 14th pick is this year, in that draft. They're probably not going to be as good as Maxx Crosby. And if I need the Raiders to win really soon, they need Maxx Crosby. I had those thoughts on that Tuesday. Before. On top of that, I have a friend. She's a Chiefs fan, which just goes to show that even Raiders and Chiefs fans can get along. But, you know, when the year I met her, she and her family dressed up as characters from Stranger Things. And she dressed up as Mad Max. And obviously Mad Max is a Raider. So I used to tease her about that. And it was later discovered, I was watching like a podcast, I think Mike Mayock mentioned it, that Max was drafted with the 106th pick. 106 is a number that I associate with my friend because 106 is January 6th, it's her birthday. It's a lot of things in this country, but it's also Epiphany Day, in case you didn't know that. January 6th is, boop, literally Epiphany Day. Check your calendars. So when I learned that Mad Max for the Raiders had a 106 tattooed on his arm because that was a draft pick, I used to tease her about that all the time. So when the Raiders finally did trade Max, I was actually happy for Max. I want him to see victory. But they traded him. And I waited, because they traded him on Friday. So I actually waited until Tuesday after they signed Linderbaum. Because Linderbaum is number 64, and there's a whole nother story involving my friend whose mother died. And this is one of the other things we bonded over when we met, is her mother died from breast cancer. And I have an uncle who passed away from the same brain tumor that my brother currently has. So the year her mom died, her stepdad, her mom was a lifelong Chiefs fan, season ticket holder. She likes to say, church and Chiefs, that's your Sunday. That's what mom used to say. So the year her mom died, the Chiefs, this was 2019, so the year that her mom died, the Chiefs had a really good season, heading into the playoffs, feeling strong. And her mom had died in August, so literally right before the season started. And she knew her stepdad was going through some stuff, and he was helping her out. And I think she'd be the first to admit she can be a little bit of a pail sometimes. But that just makes us love her more. But she had a custom jersey made with her mom's name on the back and the number 64 on it, because her mom was born in 64. She went with the Chiefs whites because it's heavenly white, right? And she gave it to her stepdad as a Christmas gift before they even knew that they were going to get to go to the Super Bowl that year. But as fate would have it, the Chiefs then did go on to the Super Bowl, and her stepdad and her brother went to the game and wore that jersey to the game. So symbolically, her mom got to go to the Super Bowl, right? Lifelong Chiefs fan who'd never seen a Super Bowl. Which just recently I made a video about the Bad Bunny halftime show, where in that halftime show, on his white custom jersey performance outfit, he's wearing a 64. So I made a video about this, right? So on Tuesday, the first thing I saw for the Raiders free agency was that they signed Tyler Linderbaum, who is number 64. So I finally broke down and sent her a text joking, the Raiders traded Mad Max 106 away, which is a little sad face. But they brought back a 64. Is that a good trade? And I was just joking with her, right? It's sentimental, it's stupid, but it's all tied together, guys. So I sent her that, and it couldn't have been an hour later. All right, so one, I got my bros thing going that day, and getting that news, and kind of joking about Raiders got to win a Super Bowl before you go. So then thinking, man, kind of wish we hadn't traded Maxx, but love these moves, so we're still looking good. And then I sent that text to my friend about, is this a fair trade? Maxx 106 for a 64, just knowing what she's dealt with her mom and kind of with cancer. And it was an hour later, I was scrolling on my phone, and that the statement from the Raiders popped up on my feed, and I'm looking at that and I'm like, what? The Ravens have backed out. We have no further comment, right? Just like everybody, all of you, we're like, what the fuck is going on here? So I like immediately texted my friend. I was like, oh, looks like we get Maxx 106 and 64. That was a big laughing face. And I actually, that when it happened, I obviously wasn't sure he was going to stay with the Raiders, so I added the caveat, at least for now. So, in a what the fuck kind of movie, right? It never happens, people. And within an hour of me mentioning it to my friend, it got reversed. And we need Maxx if we're going to win soon. And we need to win soon if we're going to win before my brother is watching from the other side. So I've got my fingers crossed. I know in my friend's case, her mom didn't actually get to see that Super Bowl. But maybe it'll work out for my bro. Maybe we'll miss it by a season. When life deals you shit to deal with, these are the kind of things that keep me going. Just seeing the interconnectedness of how the world is just kind of magical if you're actually paying attention. Because all of those things to happen on the same day. And then Maxx, you gotta love Maxx Crosby, people. He trolled the Ravens so hard with that statement about believe nothing of what you hear and only half of what you see, because that comes from an Edgar Allan Poe story entitled The Process of Dr. Tar and Professor Feather. And if you're telling me that the Ravens didn't tar and feather this man, then you are very biased, because that's what they did. This was a smack at Maxx and at the Raiders. It's just Ravens. This is going to be a little karma coming your way, I have a feeling. So, and then the next morning, I'm waking up kind of thinking about all this stuff. And I have this vision. It's vision. Do you ever get one of those where you're just like, holy shit, I see this? And in my vision, Maxx is going up to Fernando, and he's giving him a push, and you can see confetti in the air. And I don't know what game it was, but there was confetti in the air. And Maxx seemed pretty jacked up. So, felt like them hugging it out after winning the Super Bowl. I was watching one of the Raider podcasts, and with from the actual Raider station, and Amber Theo Harris, one of the Raiders kind of in-house reporters, was talking to a couple of her cohorts, and she said, dudes, I know this is crazy, but I had this vision this morning of Maxx Crosby ripping up his jersey and showing off his Raider tattoo after a big win, and I'm like, holy shit. So only time will tell how this is going to play out. But the universe is giving me what I need. I need something to hold on to here in this tough time. And so I hold on to hope, but I also hold on to peace in the knowledge that even if the meat suit gives out, he's going somewhere. He gets to go home. But I really hope the Raiders win before he has to leave. So if you're curious about this story, how it plays out, feel free to like and subscribe. But I think in a large part, the reason I recorded this is because I want to have a memory of all this stuff that happened. Because I'm going to look back on it and say, holy shit, you remember that time that Maxx almost got traded? And what was going on in your life at that same time? What was going on in your life? Were you down in the dumps that day and Maxx coming back put a smile on your face? I am the universe. The universe loves me. It's all connected. Your life, your times, and it's your vision. You're watching it. So from the part of me that is you to the part of you that is me. If you made it this far, thumbs up to you. Dog breath. Finally out. How